Free agency is well underway. The Braves have made a few moves, mostly additions. Well, I don't want to say additions by subtractions because that really takes some stuff away from Travis Denard and Jorge Soler, but some subtractions to the roster and trading away Jorge Soler, not picking up Travis Darno. That was a big talking point recently for Alex Anthopoulos on 680 The Fan, the reason why. And it's something that we talked about, kind of how Joe Jimenez, that injury came to light. And then Ronald Acuna Jr. and Spencer Strider not being ready for opening day. And all of a sudden, the Braves have this laundry list of needs and not that much money to spend to fill them. And a backup catcher making $8 million when you have Sean Murphy and you probably haven't been using him as best or utilizing him as best as you possibly could. You also have Drake Baldwin, Chadwick Plump, who could fill in to that backup catcher role. Kind of felt like a luxury where you didn't really have the money to spend on that luxury.
Yeah, at the exit interviews, a lot changed very quickly from the exit interviews until, him firing the entire coaching staff, other than Snit. Him saying they're going to pick up Travis Darno's option, and all of that changed because they have to now attack the bullpen. Joe Jimenez is a high leverage guy. They need to replace him. That doesn't even account for the AJ Minter. Hopefully he comes back on a 1 year prove it kind of deal, but you might have to replace two high leverage guys in that case. You're going to have to replace at least a portion of Spencer Strider starts, and maybe however many starts combined Max Fried and Charlie Morton gave you last year. And that doesn't even include the outfield where, what do you really got in Jared Kelenic? At the very least, you need somebody to get a platoon. And if you do get a platoon for him, you need somebody to start in every single day in right field in place of Ronald Acuna Jr. So all of those developments led up to Travis Darno's option being declined. Alex Anthopoulos said that on 680 The Fan. And quite frankly, it kind of incentivizes Snit. I don't want to say this is very tinfoil hat crap, but maybe Snit was just in love with the idea. He loves Travis Darno. Everybody loves Travis Darno. He's a very good catcher. He's a plus bat from that position. And so he's kind of incentivized to play Sean Murphy 70% of the time this season. And he did mention, Anthopoulos, in that interview, that Sean Murphy told him, I can easily catch 120 games. That's more than 70%. So, it's all lining up this season for Sean Murphy to kind of have a bounce back campaign after really one full season of just terrible stuff. Second half of 23 and pretty much all of 24.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've been as critical as anyone as that Sean Murphy trade, but I do agree. I mean, Sean Murphy was a guy that when you got him over from Oakland, he had a reputation for catching 120, 130 games and then DHing as well. So he was playing a lot of baseball, and it seems like, at least from his short tenure with the Atlanta Braves, he's been a better catcher and a better hitter when he's getting those everyday reps. And we know what he can be from a defensive perspective. But when you do have a guy like Travis Darno, it's hard to not play the hot hand, right? And when Sean Murphy's struggling, it's hard to just sit through that when you have a guy that can be very good. So yeah, I think
especially when everybody else on the team is also
struggling. I mean, you've got to play who's ever hitting the best at that moment. Because and for most of this year, that was Travis Darno. So I am excited to see Sean Murphy get those reps and not have someone looking over his shoulder and maybe feeling comfortable that this is his job and he's going to catch pretty much at least 5-6 days out of the week. And I'm interested to see who backs him up. Is it going to be Tromp? Because if you are catching Sean Murphy that much, you probably don't want Drake Baldwin coming in and filling in once every couple of days. So interested to see when you talk about the trade market. Drake Baldwin might be definitely, without a doubt, your best trade chip. Is he going to be floated on the market? Maybe they do still get a backup catcher that's more of a 40 games a year guy rather than Travis Darno. So there's a lot of stuff there. Alex Anthopoulos also talked about free agency and finally making a splash. And of course, he gave you his typical AA answer. But the one thing that I did think was interesting, and you'll learn this, and I'm about to say something. Every day, every year, seemingly right around Thanksgiving, it's right in between the winter meetings and this month before after the end of the season, the Braves make a move. It seems like you're sitting down with your family. Boom, Sean Murphy's traded. Boom, Matt Olson's traded. That seems to be where. So over these next couple of weeks, really, these conversations have already gotten started. Don't be surprised if the Braves make their one big offseason splash.
Yeah, it's every single year it's a splash. I mean, last year was Chris Sale. And I think that, Anthopoulos has an MO. He has a track record. He's not anybody hoping for some marquee free agent. That's not his MO. He's going to trade for somebody. That's just how it is. And, quite frankly, it's a better way to go about business. As he's shown, the value just isn't in free agency most of the time. That's not to say that's the rule, but generally speaking, the value is not in free agency. And that's what Alex Anthopoulos is all about, equating dollars and cents to war. And it's as simple as can be. There's a lot more that goes into it, but simplified, that's what it is. And he mentioned that, he said that like from this point until the winter meetings, things are going to ramp up. They say word for word. We got a lot of balls in the air. I've been talking on the phone with guys. So nobody should be surprised. Hell, right now in the middle of this, some blue box comes in from the Braves social media.
Yeah. And one guy I just want to mention, and it was a guy that maybe this time last year, I'm like, no way the Braves go after him. No Brave, but he's gotten mentioned. He's gotten linked by like Buster Olney. The Braves are interested. It's Garrett Crochet. And the reason I'm so intrigued by the prospect of Garrett Crochet is because he's one of those few guys that's out there that's like, that before I pitch another pitch next season, I want an extension. Like he's a guy who's like, I want that security because listen, we know how pitcher injuries are. There's obviously risk in any of these extensions. We've seen it with Spencer Strider most recently, but he wants an extension. And his extension's not going to be as big as what Max Fried's going to get in free agency, but you can lock him up for all of his prime years. Now, I don't know if going out there and getting him for 2 years is going to be worth the prospect haul, but getting him for 2 years plus an extension, all of a sudden that prospect haul doesn't look like that bad of a thing to part ways with. It's going to be a huge prospect haul, but those are the kind of targets we've seen in the past. All three of Alex Anthopoulos guys that he has traded for each offseason, Matt Olson, Sean Murphy, then Chris Sale, have gotten an extension before they've even played a game in Atlanta. And it seems like that's even more his MO. Not only does he want to make the big trade, he wants to lock you in for at least a couple years longer.
Yeah. And I mean, you go look back at those three trades in particular and think back, what are those guys doing right now? Most of them, absolutely nothing. Now, William Contreras is the one exception. And he's not even really in that category of the prospects that was traded, though maybe he was designated as a prospect. I'm not sure. No, but like, it's important to remember that the Hurston Waldrips, the AJ Smith-Shavers of the world, the Drake Baldwins, like we're all very high on these guys because they're our guys. We want to believe in them. It's very easy to be optimistic about your guys. But the reality is they're trade chips. That's how you should see them because most of the time they don't work out. In fact, they kind of go up in flames most of the time. You go look back at any blockbuster trade, there's like an 80% miss rate on a lot of those prospects.
Yeah, I mean,
it might be even higher.
Listen, I've said this on this show a million times, but just look at all the Braves pitchers that have come through the farm system and how many they've hit on. I mean, you're talking about Max Fried and like nobody else, because even the Kyle Wrights, the Michael Sorokas, the Ian Andersons, they all got
Schwellenbachs and Striders.
Yeah. You don't know with Strider yet because he's just coming off a torn UCL. So like, the hit rate, especially on pitchers, is so damn low. It's so ridiculously damn low. And then on position players, I mean, they can flame out right when they get to the major leagues. The Vaughn Grissons, the Nacho Alvarez, they're hitting in AAA, but it's so much different once you get to this top level. I think the only prospect that would kind of hurt would be trading Drake Baldwin. But at the same time, you're selling so high on him that he's probably not going to deliver the kind of value you're going to get back.
You're also selling at a position of strength. Like Sean Murphy's locked up. He's not going anywhere.
That's another thing that I think Braves fans have to just like come to grips with. Like Sean Murphy is going to be here for the end of the decade, most likely.
I did something on it earlier. Check it out, sportstalkatl.com. That this is also a pill Braves fans are going to have to swallow. It's a much more difficult pill than Sean Murphy. Is the Orlando Arcia. It's a luxury the Braves cannot afford with the Joe Jimenez, the Acuna, and the Strider development. It's a luxury we cannot afford. I would put a lot of money wagered on Orlando Arcia being the opening day shortstop for the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, I mean, there's some guys out there worth mentioning. Obviously, you talked about Willie Adames and then Ha-Seong Kim. But yeah, I mean, most likely someone's going to pay top dollar, even for Ha-Seong Kim coming off injury. And really, do we want another injured guy? Like, it's like we've got a million injured guys. It seems like Alex Anthopoulos might just want a guy that's going to be ready for opening day, and that could deter him in that market for Ha-Seong Kim. But it's going to be an interesting offseason. I think the Braves are going to make a lot of moves this winter.